everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Felicia and you are watching Felicia Finish the Book. Today I am going to do my November nonfiction wrap up. The unfortunate thing is it turned into be really mediocre nonfiction, but some really great fiction, which I wasn't even expecting to really just sink my teeth into, but I did, and here we are. So for the month of November, I said that I was going to read a total of 4 books, and I will link that video down below, but I actually only ended up reading 3 books, and 2 of them were out of the nonfiction pile that I had great intentions of reading. So the number 1 book that I finished, the first book that I finished in nonfiction November was It's Not How Good You Are, It's How Good You Want to Be. And this book is by Paul Arden. This was a really great read. I give it a 3 out of 5 stars. I feel like this book was illustrated. It was a graphic nonfiction book. It was entertaining, and it was also full of a lot of great knowledge. It was a pretty short read. There were some things that I felt like was just really applicable to someone who is going to be in an industry that depends on your creativity day in and day out, where it's more artistic creativity that you're inputting into the job. And I don't feel like this book is going to be applicable for everyone. I think you can glean some great golden nuggets from this book, even if you're not going to go into an advertising field, because this book is written from someone who was a top advertising executive. He was at the top of his field. He was in the top 10% of the advertising field. And this book talks about a lot of the lessons that he learned while he was in the industry, and also what he's learned in business. But I do think that it's just really applicable to someone who is in the advertising field or in the creative space, because this isn't going to be applicable for everyone who isn't in that space. And I talked a little bit about that in my vlog when I was reading this book, but I think it's a really great short read. I think it's a great book that is full of illustrations and graphics. I am a graphic design artist, and so I love seeing books that have illustrations in them. So it definitely keeps you interested in respect to the illustrations in the book, but I just don't think it's a book that would be for everyone. But I wouldn't say no, don't read it, but I don't think everyone can relate to this book. The next book that I read was Paco Underhill's What Women Want, The Global Market Turns Female Friendly. This book was so this book was supposed to discuss the growing importance of the woman's presence in the marketplace and how it influences different brands to produce the products that they produce. I did not like this book. I went into this book thinking it was really going to help me with some business questions that I had. I really thought this book was going to be research driven. I thought that it was going to be data driven. I thought there would be scientific studies that were conducted, socio-cultural studies that were conducted, and none of that was indicated in this book. It was basically based off of this man's opinion, and I wanted the receipts. Where were the receipts, Underhill? Where are the receipts, Paco? I want to see some receipts. Where are the receipts at? And I didn't get any receipts, just an opinion. I was really disappointed. There were times where I felt like I was crying. I was gonna cry. It was like watching paint dry reading this book. I went into it with the first couple of pages really excited and really enthused, but it was just truly all about this man's opinion. And I felt like he would switch from one topic to the next, and it was so much information that he was giving you just to make one point, and the one point was his opinion. And it was so unnecessary to write this book. This book could have been 10 pages, honestly. It did not have to be 200 and something pages. It was a waste of paper and publishing. That's really, you know what, that's really harsh. It was just a waste of my time. I didn't have to read this book, and I don't recommend this book, and I should have known better when I went to Goodreads and to Amazon and I saw those reviews. But me trying to have the original thought, me trying to be an independent thinker, thought that I would be able to digest this book and walk away with something. But what I walked away with was bad energy and a waste of time. I want to say, as I got to the last few chapters of this book, I really started to speed through this book. I was skimming it, like glossing over it. I read it, but when, you know, like when it's so boring that you're just you're just reading words, you're just looking at words to hurry up and get through it, and hopefully you might see something that sticks out at you and you might reread the sentence. But I was definitely speed reading this book to hurry up and get through it. That's just how annoying it was to read this book. And honestly, it held me up from reading other things that I wanted to read. I wasn't really able to get into Deep Work, the book that I really wanted to read by Cal Newport, was because I was stuck on this one book. And it slowed down my reading. It really kind of put me in somewhat of a slump for the month of November, and I just didn't have the enthusiasm that I wanted to have about nonfiction for the month of November. And it was a total struggle trying to get through the book. I do want to talk a little bit about Cal Newport's book. I'm not really going to give you a summary because I talked about that in the nonfiction video, which I will link down in the description box. But I did read a little bit of Cal Newport's Deep Work. However, this is a book that you really have to be super engaged in, and you have to really be, you have to take notes with this book. This is a book that you want to take notes with, and because I knew I was going to be taking notes, it was just taking me much longer to get through this book. It's honestly a book that I don't even really feel like I can put in nonfiction November next time. I think I'm gonna go for books that are maybe autobiographies or something where I don't have to take so many notes, because this is honestly a book that I would like to wake up and read every day. And this could be a book that would take me a year to get through because there's just so much information to write down. It's not a book that you can skim or gloss over. It's a book that you really have to take notes to retain that information, and I did not want to speed read this book. And so that was something that I was very intentional about making sure that I did not do, and that was one of the reasons why I didn't finish this book. I didn't feel like it was something that I could do as I was reading other books, and if I wanted to get the most out of this book. But yeah, this is a book that helps you to focus on deep work and building the skill of learning how to concentrate on your work without distractions. And this was something that I felt like I needed to give a lot more attention to. As we are talking about deep work, I should be deeply interested in it. And the last book that I finished for the month of November was You by Carolyn Kepnes. This book, it saved me. It saved me. It saved me. I was so excited to read this book. I think I want to say I finished this book within 3 weeks, but that was because, you know, I was obviously reading other books, but I could have finished this within 1 week, maybe even 3 days if I just gave myself 3 full days to finish it. It was a really, really good book. I want to do a full-on review of the book, and I'm also going to compare it to the show. I'm seeing some differences with the show that I don't necessarily like. I haven't fully finished the show on Netflix, but I have watched I want to say 3 episodes, and I'm comparing it to the book, but I want to do a full review on You. So I've talked about this book before, but to give you a really quick summary of the book, it is based in New York. It's about this man who runs into a young student living in New York City at the time, and he sees her in a bookstore and becomes extremely instantly obsessed with her. And as he's stalking her, he finds a way to insert himself into her life. He's very successful at inserting himself into her life, but it comes with some challenges, and he's just completely obsessed with this woman. And you learn about him as a person, you learn about her as a person, you learn about her friends, and this book really took me for a loop, because I felt like I was rooting for a criminal, a complete criminal, and just not a great person. It's not someone that I would want to meet in real life. I wouldn't want to meet this person in real life, but in this book, Carolyn Kepnes, you had me rooting for this psychopath. And that is what I loved about this book. That is what I loved about this book. And it made me so excited to watch the show. And I'm gonna watch the show and finish it and definitely compare notes. But yeah, this book was a good read. It was definitely a good read. And I give it, there were some things that I felt like there were some things that I feel like I would have liked to have seen done differently, but for the most part, it makes you think about what you do and how much you share on social media, how much you share with other people, just how you operate in life. It even made me think about some things that I do as far as sharing my life online, and you never know. Like, you never know who's watching you or stalking you. And so I like that this book did make me think. And I give it I'm gonna give this, on Goodreads, I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. I give it a 3 out of 5 stars. Definitely a 3 out of 5 stars. Loved this book, and you know what, I'm not itching to read Hidden Bodies immediately, but I definitely will read Hidden Bodies eventually, and that's the second book to this book. So I think it's a duology. That's another reason why I'm not giving this more stars. So that completes my nonfiction November wrap up, and I look forward to reading so many more books in December. Let me know how your November nonfiction let me know how your nonfiction November went. Let me know what your November wrap-ups look like, felt like, and read like, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.